How pretty would that be as a hat? Does that look silly? Look at his little ears. Like I'm a teddy bear. Hey everyone, it's Tara. Welcome to A Loop Through a Loop. As always, I'm so glad that you could come and hang out with me for a little bit. And we've made it through July, and I kind of have some things I'm excited about that I was able to finish and work on for this month. I'm not going to wear any knits today because it's just too warm for that, but we're going to get right into finished objects. We're 2 weeks into July, maybe like a week and a half, and I have been knitting, but I haven't finished any knitting, but I have sewn together a couple more Ashton tops. Last time when I made the tops, I talked about how I kind of had an issue of some puckering around the neckline. I had some fabric that my mom had passed down to me since I was sewing, and she didn't need it anymore, so I thought this would be good to do kind of like another test run of the pattern. I tried lowering the armhole, like cutting it down a little bit deeper, but I was very conservative about how much that I cut off, and I probably could have cut a little bit deeper. But this is what the Ashton top looks like. You can have it a longer length, kind of maybe more to hip level, or you can crop it. I do something somewhere kind of in between, so like a length that I feel most comfortable for my body. I still have some problems with some puckering and gaping. I know that some of you made comments giving me some tips about what to try, and I need to go back and I need to read those again, because maybe I need to look a little bit more on the technical side of it. I've thought what I was doing is I was pulling the fabric, which caused it to distort its shape. This time I made a more concerted effort to make sure that I wasn't pulling the fabric. So I don't know. And it's a cute little yellow top, so I'll still wear it. Then I had some jersey remnant fabric and decided to go ahead and try to do like a mock-up of the same Ashton shirt, but in a knit jersey. And I don't have any problems with like it's pretty comfortable around the armholes. I don't have any problems with that. Is the fit perfect? No. I feel like, if I wanted to be really picky, it's probably too big here, and I've taken this in about 1/2 inch on both sides. And at this point, I'm thinking, really, I would probably wear a sweater or a jacket over this. I wouldn't normally wear this by itself as it is, so I'm okay. Like, in my sewing journey right now, I'm just trying to discover and figure out construction and some like small little technique things. And eventually in my journey, I'm sure I'll get more into like tailoring and fitting better for my body, but I'm just not there yet. Because of my yardage and how my fabric was being a remnant, I had to kind of get creative, which is why I have a seam down the middle of the front, and I'll turn around so you can see it's different. I've got this cute olive green color. There's also a seam going down the back, and that was just so that I could have enough pieces to make the garment. I'm also wondering if something that would help. So with this pattern, there are 2 different ways that you can finish the top part, like the sleeves or the armholes and the neck hole. You can use a bias binding on the back. So The back of my shirt is green, and here you can see the bias binding is in the floral. And I've done that around the sleeves and around the neckline. And on the jersey material, I feel like it worked really, really well. I don't have any puckering. My only issue with my jersey shirt is the fit up around here, but it's not that bad. But I'm wondering if I did the bias binding on this version, and I'm wondering if on this woven fabric, maybe if I would have done the other kind of finishing that she has in there, and now I can't think of what it is, that I think it would have, maybe it would lay nicer or better, I'm not sure. At that point in time, I didn't have the capacity in my mind to really like wrap my brain around the construction of the other. It just wasn't gonna work. I guess I have 2 new tops and nowhere to go, which is fine. I can wear the jersey one around the house. I'm more tempted to make the jersey knit version if I find a fabric that I'm really drawn to. But I also have my eye out for any viscose fabric or something that's kind of loose and drapey. I think I would like that a lot better than like a woven cotton. It's a little stiffer. I did have a fellow fiber friend reach out to me and ask if they could send some yarn my way. And so I want to share you what was sent to me. And a big thank you to Roz. This got here super fast. I'm going from North Carolina to Kentucky. It doesn't really take too long. So good deal there. First, she included a little eat, sleep, knit. Oh, can you see that? Maybe. It's a little tape measure, and I've kept it in its little packaging for right now because I don't want anybody messing with it. And then how cute are these stitch markers? I really like how colorful they are. And I like that the different colors are for different sizes. Super cute. The first thing that I noticed was some sock yarn. So I have 2 different kinds of sock yarn here. And so I've been thinking, do I want to try socks? And I keep going back and forth because I want my knitting to be where I can see it and it's precious to me. And in my head, I'm like, but if I put it on my feet are touching the ground and they're gonna get yucky, and I'm probably gonna wear through the socks pretty quickly, but I still really wanna try it. If you have any sock pattern recommendations for newbies, I will gladly take those. I'm really liking this green. I don't know what brand they are, but she did tell me that they are wool and nylon. So it's sock yarn. I can tell you right now, you know, I've only ever knit the house socks by Fiber Tales, and I love that pattern. And I knit a pair for myself and then I ruined them, which was my fault. But then I've also made a pair for one of my best friends and my sister-in-law. That's about the extent of my sock knitting. I've never made any fingering weight socks, but I can tell you right now, I feel like my preference is leaning towards toe up because I want to be able to use every last bit of yarn. Now, sock knitters out there might be like, that's stupid. And it might be. I know that there are avid sock knitters out there that are accessible and easy to find, that have classes and videos. I know the Crazy Sock Lady, she's got a whole summer sock camp. I don't think I'm on that level yet to where I wanted, like, I'm not jazzed about socks in a way that I'd want to do like a camp. But then there's also Earth Tone Girls, and she has like a video class already up. If any of you have explored those and have a recommendation, that would be great. But these are beautiful colors. I kind of just want to knit a swatch and see what they look like just knit up, but I have no idea. I have been going through my Pinterest because I have Pinterest boards for, well, I have some like sweaters or knitwear that I think is really neat, that I really like. That's not necessarily hand knit, but there's something about that knitted garment that I would want to wear. And then I have a board for like everyday dress, and then like if I had to go somewhere, like some more dress up stuff. And then I have like a princess board that's just like all ball gowns and fabulousness. And I keep returning to the everyday wear and trying to go back to that board and see, what am I drawn to? What are the silhouettes and the colors or this and that I want to wear? The people that bring me joy that I follow on Instagram, that inspire me, what is it about them specifically that inspires me? So I like things that are pretty casual, not too, kind of like what my tagline is, put together but a little undone, kind of effortless. I'm drawn to Ralph Lauren's ad campaigns, and I'm really drawn to like Anthropologie's play with color, and Xandra Rhodes on Instagram. That's like banana colors. The rainbow has just exploded. I'm not afraid to wear color. And the things that make me the most happy or fill me with the most joy tend to be kind of maybe a little bit out there, depending on who you're talking to. And I think where I grew up in the Midwest, the MO is just kind of blend in. No one really stands out. And if you stand out, you're kind of like side-eyed, like what in the world? I don't necessarily want to be like, fabulous and extravagant, but I want to wear fun colors in classic shapes that I know that I'll like. Like I want to do like classic, timeless clothing, but like that's a little bit more fun. So also going back to this with socks, if you have recommendations, should I start with a plain vanilla sock or should I do something spicy with the pattern in it? I'm really drawn, like I've looked at sock patterns in the past, and I'm really drawn to Helen Stewart's sock patterns. Because I think what I really like is taking something, I don't want to say old-fashioned, but kind of old-fashioned, and then doing like a fun color, which I'll show you a project later on that I'm working on that I feel like really hits that itch for me. Like, Okay, that's the sock yarn and tangent on color. Moving on then, we have, this is Happy Feet, and I think this is from Hobby Yarns. And this has superwash and nylon. It's a 75-25, and this appears to be a DK. I think I've gotten to the point where like I can look on what the ball band says, but I kind of just look at my eye and think, or this could be a sport weight, sport to DK. And those of you that know what this yarn is are probably like, it's a blah, 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 blah. And then I'm wrong. I love this color. It is, I'm gonna have to go, I wanna cover up my face here. I'm gonna take the ball band off so then you can see it. Ooh, it's like this really pretty ox blood color. I love that. So I thought, well, I have two skeins here. They're 50 grams each. I could do a hat. Oh, how pretty would that be as a hat? Does that look silly? Look at his little ears. Oh, like I'm a teddy bear. Oh my God. I'm such an idiot. But yeah, this would make a really pretty hat. And then there's also this Simply wool, and this is just 100% superwash. I thought, do I want to put those two together and do like a color work hat? Or maybe I do like my Odile pattern and then do like maybe make a hat for one of the girls. I don't know how well the kids will react to wool. I have a question that I want to ask you all since I have you here, is that our youngest daughter has eczema and it flares up fairly regularly, and there are certain things I've pinpointed that do cause flare-ups, and we avoid those things, but it shows up again. And I want to knit her things, but I'm hesitant to do anything with wool because I'm afraid that that could, you know, wool can be itchy anyway, depending on skin, but I'm thinking if her skin's sensitive and she has eczema anyway, wool is probably not going to be a choice for her. Maybe I need to stick with like more cotton or just acrylic blend stuff. But if anyone out there knows somebody who has eczema or has experience with eczema and wool, is that like a huge no-no, stay away? Could I make her a little hat for this? I mean, and then I think how cute would a little sweater be? And I have friends and family that are having little babies and I want to knit them so all the pretty things, but I don't want to buy more yarn. I want to use what I have. And if what I have is wool, I feel like I'm setting up my friends and family to fail when it comes to washing them. I don't know. I could always make a hat and then send it off to donate. But then I'm thinking, if I donate a hat, the person getting the hat may not know it's wool. And then what if they wash it and then it shrinks and then they can't wear it? And then maybe I'm overthinking it. The next is this Cascade Heritage wool. I love this color. Oh my gosh. I didn't even look and see what color it was. It's color 5683. That's not helpful, is it? But this is a 75-25 fingering weight yarn. So this could also be socks. This could be like, kind of like country. That's another thing, trying to figure out like what my style is. I've mentioned before in past videos, my aesthetic that I really am drawn to is like art teacher / ballerina. But then like I look at what I wear and I'm like, but is that really? I mean, definitely probably leaning more towards art teacher, but like then I'm also from the Midwest and I'm not urban, but I'm not country. Like, I don't know what I am. I'm like stuck in like a purgatory of style. I just like eclectic. I like a little bit of everything. And I'm thinking this could be like some urban country socks. Oh, but I love this color. And then there is this hand-dyed yarn. This is from Old Rusted Chair. And the colorway says Old Original. I don't know. Can you read that? Is it focusing? How close do I need to go? Is that better? Too close? Not close enough? Whatever. This is 100% superwash merino. Again, I love this color. These. So here's what I'm thinking. So I have these two. And then Roz also sent this mohair by Asylum Fibers. And, oh, it's in Tiger Lily, first of all. I haven't even taken the band off. I'm a little afraid to because I want to, but look, there's that splash of purple with the, oh my God, I can't even. So I'm thinking birds of a feather. Or would I do that? I don't know. Like, I'm thinking doing this for the lace portions. I don't actually have the pattern, so I don't know how she has the pattern repeats separated, but oh, that makes me excited. My problem right now is that I have several projects on the needles. They're all either like fingering weight stockinette, which takes quite a while, or like they're fingering weight to DK, like they have cables or something with it. Ugh. But I think this is gonna be birds of a feather. If you have any other fun suggestions, let me know. But I think I would really like, those. And it appears to be pretty true. That indirect sunlight's really pulling through for me right now. But I think, going back to this, maybe I don't want to use all this sock yarn. Maybe I want to make some shorty socks. So then I can get a feel for socks, but I'm not, like, it's not a commitment. I can make my shorty socks, and then I can throw this in my fingering weight leftovers, and then eventually make another Stephen West pattern, because I made my vertices unite, and after I blocked it and love it. And he has another super scrappy modular knit called the Jigsaw Puzzle. And I would love that too. So I have so many ideas. Kind of right now, my problem is I have so many ideas and so many things that I want to make that it can feel a little overwhelming inside my head right now. So what I need to do is just turn on an audiobook and just knit away on one of my projects so I can clear up some needles, because there's one project that I want to cast on and I can't because I'm using that set of needles on another project. And I know that I could go on Amazon and just send another needle set my way, but I don't want to. My problem is that I need to finish what I'm working on. Again, thank you to Roz. My head is already spinning with different ideas of things that I want to do and make, and hopefully this upcoming next week, my kids have birthdays pretty close together. So our son has a birthday July 11th. My daughter has a birthday July 19th. So within a week of each other, we have 2 birthdays. And then our oldest daughter has a birthday in August 19th. Plus she's starting kindergarten, and the 2 younger kids are going to be going into preschool. So time is starting to feel like I know there are things coming up. And when I feel that kind of anticipation, like knowing something is coming, that the way that my anxiety works is that I can't really do any form of escapism. So like I can't focus on a book. I don't really want to knit. All I can really do is just kind of sit and go through that. There was a speech or an interview that I was listening to, and they talked about how, if you talk to athletes or people that are in the public eye and you ask them, how are you feeling about the big game coming up? And a lot of times the ones that are professionals that, become superstars or whatever, they talk about, oh, I'm just so excited. Like, this is great. I'm so excited. And they take that. So it's that same feeling coursing through everyone's body, but how that is interpreted is different. So what is exciting to that athlete, to me, that feeling coursing through my body is not excitement. It's fear, not necessarily like boogeyman scary fear, but it's like my brain going in all different directions. I can no longer anticipate what's going to happen, kind of not completely spinning out of control, but realizing that I don't have control over this. I know everything will be okay. You just have to go through it, and you'll come out on the other side and you'll be okay. That's how I have to process it. And sometimes I have to separate myself from myself, if that makes sense. Like, I have to separate what I'm feeling from what I know to be true. Thank you for my therapy session. Let me know how much I owe you. Fingers crossed, next week I'll have some knitting projects done. You know what? And if I don't, then I'll see you at the end of the month and we'll see what my works in progress look like. It's the next week. I have a finished object to share with you, one that took a little bit of a twist. So I've been working on my pink velvet, and I had finished the body and I was 2/3 of the way through the first sleeve, and I went to steam block it, and I used too much heat, which completely screwed up the ribbing at the bottom. And to be honest, I just was not enjoying working on it. There was something just like, I liked the colors, but there was something about the yarn I just didn't. It felt more like a chore instead of something I was choosing to do. And then I was just like, I'm done. I broke the yarn. I took all my needles and cables off, and I was just going to throw it in the trash. I was so done with it. And I had my sewing machine out because I needed to make my husband another scrub cap. And I looked at my sewing machine, and then I looked at the sweater, and I went, maybe I could turn this into something for the kids. And so we have a snuggle, a little snuggle monster. And it is pretty soft and squishy. So obviously this was where the neck was, and then I just sewed whatever. And after I sewed the sides, I just hacked away, where the sleeve was, and cut all that other stuff. Put it in here. Nothing was wasted. I shoved some other old yarn that I've had, put it in there, put some polyfill in it to kind of really fill them out some. Not very well, but I sewed some buttons on. Not very well. And then I did kind of stitch him up along here because he was a little deformed. So eventually maybe I might do like some patchwork or darning on him just to make him look kind of cute. But this is my pink velvet snuggle monster, and the kids love it, and it's super soft. So that's all I have for this week. So then this last bit of July, I was able to knock out a couple of projects. I finished up my sweater that I started. I don't think I mentioned this on the last podcast. I don't even know that I had started it, but if I can find it, I'll try to pop up a picture of my inspiration, which was ballet. I had been watching Swan Lake, and then I released some hat patterns that were kind of Swan Lake inspired. Then I took that and kind of just designed my own sweater. And I'll also post a picture of me wearing it. But here it is. So I made my sweater out of Knit Picks palette in Bear, so just the undyed, and then also Knit Picks Aloft, so just white mohair held together. This is what I have left over. I have 14 grams of the mohair and 93 grams of the palette. So I had originally bought 3 skeins, and I only used 7 grams of my third skein, and I had bought 4 skeins of the white mohair, used all of the third, and then maybe about half or a third of the 4th skein. So plenty left over. I think I'd like to just do like a simple hat because after I finished this, I kind of needed a palette cleanser, which I'll show you after I get done speaking about this. So I worked this sweater from the bottom up, and I was writing and typing notes and instructions pretty thoroughly until I got to where I separated for the sleeves. And then with the seed stitch, no, this is moss stitch. With the moss stitch that I used, it kind of just got a little too involved, where it kind of just became like I just needed to knit the sweater and not worry about writing anything. Eventually, I would like to make another version of this and possibly write up and publish a pattern for that. But for right now, this is just all my own. It's kind of weird because as a maker, I want to be able to share things. And sometimes it can be really hard for me to say, this is my own and I can keep it special for myself. It just feels kind of weird, but I also need to just let myself have permission to say, you know what, this was just mine. I used the same stitch pattern here. The center motif is from the Odette hat from my Swan Pas de Deux pattern. The center is from the Odette hat. I did put some little picots along the sides. They look like little baubles, and I just made a picot. That's how I made the kind of like the little baubles. And I debated whether or not to do that because I'm not really a bauble kind of a person. But for this instance, I went ahead and did it. So it's worked bottom up, then I split for sleeves, and this is a modified drop shoulder to where the shoulders are actually kind of more set in. The sleeves and the back of the sweater is just plain. It gives us a little bit more texture, which I really liked. When I got up to the neckline, my neckline's kind of wonky, which is okay. Like this front part kind of dips down a little bit, you know, like this is just, I was winging it. It's okay that it's not perfect. When I went to bind off, I went ahead and did a picot bind off. I didn't know if it was gonna work or not. I just thought, I'll just try it. And then when I finished, I thought, ooh, maybe that's too much. But it's only at the top and it adds just a little bit of detail that I was kind of unexpected, and I really enjoy it. I did order some sew-in tags. I don't have my bag with all the information is up there. So I'll insert the name of the shop on Etsy that I bought them from. And I decided that I'm going to use like a hot pink thread to sew in all my tags. And yes, I realized that this is sewing on crooked. Right, I'm gonna leave it as it is. I'm gonna let it be imperfect. So I decided on all of my hand knits, I'm going to sew in my tag with a loop through a loop, and it's all going to have the same hot pink thread. I'm not gonna match the thread to the yarn. I'm okay that you can see the pink thread on the back side. That's how I know it's mine. That's how I'm claiming it. So I really enjoy that. On the sleeves, I knit straight for, 6 or 7 inches, and then I did 8 decreases and then a rapid decrease to kind of get a little bit of kind of what looks like a puffed sleeve. When this is on, it doesn't look overly puffy. It's not tight, but it has maybe like a 1/2 inch of positive ease, and then around the cuffs have a negative ease, so they're fitted. I do have some fancy buttons here on the cuff. This is not where the buttons are going to stay. I kind of just popped them on in a hurry, and in fact, they're tied on for right now. What I need to do is put these buttons so that they are evenly spaced in kind of the faux placket, I guess. I don't know how else I would describe it. So I have ribbing, and then I have a panel here with stockinette for 5 stitches as kind of like a button placket. So what I need to do is take these 2 buttons off and center them along that. I think this is going to be a great sweater for the holidays. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and say I have a sweater for Christmas and I'm done. With all of this texture going on in this sweater, I needed a palette cleanser. And so I whipped up 2 baby hats. This one I made during nap time, and this time I made at bedtime, like the kids were in bed and I was watching the Olympics. So this is made using Yarn Bee Sweet Delight, and the colorway is Cloudy. So just a gray. It is an acrylic polyamide blend, and it feels very soft, very good for baby. It's not super fuzzy, so it's safe to have around their face. They're not gonna get it in their eyes or their mouth. And for the pom-poms, I used embroidery thread. So this first hat that I made will go off to my nephew. And the crown, so this is kind of where I played with decreases and how they impact shaping. So this hat had 6 decreases that were just knit 2 together 6 times evenly every other row at the crown. So we have that formed more of a round shape. And one of my best friends back home is expecting her 3rd child. And so with this hat, from the bottom, the cuff of the hat up, they're both knit exactly the same stitch count, but this time I decided to do center double decreases. So there are 3 center double decreases spaced evenly in the round every other row. And I can't tell you how many times I did it. I kind of just was like, yeah, that looks about right. And then cut the yarn, pulled the tail through the loops, and then called it good. I don't know, I kind of eyeballed it. Those center double decreases gave us more of like a point. Look pretty cute on a little baby head. You know, a little baby head will round it out a little bit and have just a little bit of a point at the top. I have plenty of yarn left, so my plan is to make up some more and then either keep them for gift giving or go ahead and donate them. I'm not sure. I mean, either choice is a viable option. Then we'll go into works in progress. I was working on starting some blankets, and I had started my nephew's blanket, which I've started several times, and this is what I have. I got 25% of the way through the blanket, and I was like, this just isn't working. And I cannot in good conscience give a sweet little baby a gift that has any kind of bad mojo in it. I just can't do it. I loved making this hat. I will give him this hat. Instead of a blanket, maybe try a garment. Pearl Soho just came out with a little pant pattern, which would be super cute until you have a blowout. But still, it can be cute. I still don't know. And the only person putting pressure on me to do this is myself. So I'm trying to kind of back off and take it easy on myself here. For now, it just goes back in the bag. I don't know. I don't know. The other blanket, however, I'm really enjoying it. I enjoy, oh, I guess I should tell you what this yarn is. This this has been marled together. This is 2 colors marled together. This is Yarn Bee 44th Street in the color Camel and Silver Gray, I think is the name of the gray color. Let me check. Yeah, Silver Gray. I love them marled together, but I don't know. I've used this yarn before. I used this in my Soldotna that I made around Christmas time last year, and I liked it okay. I like it, but there's something about this yarn that I just don't think I really love working with it. And I can't pinpoint what it is. There's nothing inherently wrong with the yarn. Maybe it's the needles that I'm using, but they're the needles I use for everything. So I don't know. Okay, moving on to the other blanket. This is using the Pearl Soho pattern, and last month I called it the Bas Relief Wrap. That was wrong. That's for another project I'm working on. This is just the bias blanket, and it's garter stitch. So I just started on the white, so there'll be a white stripe here. And what I did is this comes in a kit. It has 6 colors, so I'm working my way through the 6 colors as they appeared in the package. When I finish with the first pack, then I will start decreasing with the second pack, and then at the end there will be a blanket that's just the right size for a child, a small child, like toddler size. I think this will be just the right size for like a little toddler. I love the colors in this pack, and the skeins are probably around 16 grams, 16 to 20 grams. I think 16 is coming to my mind for whatever reason. So it's the same amount of yarn, but since the blanket is getting wider and making a triangle, the stripes naturally get shorter and shorter. I am using a US 4 to knit these. I don't have the needles on them right now because I'm using that for a current whip, which I'll show you here in a minute. But what I have discovered is that I had these progress keepers that I had purchased at Hobby Lobby that have numbers on them, and I never use them, ever. And I thought, wait a second, I can go ahead and take the 4 and use the stitch marker so then I know, oh, I need to put a 4 back on this project. So far that comes in very handy and I like it. I think I'm gonna just make this like my gift bag, gift knitting, baby making, not that kind of baby making. Exciting. My other whip that I have started is using the Pearl Soho Cashmere Merino Bloom, and this is in Bright Flamingo, I think is the colorway. So I was gifted 4 skeins of this. It feels as good as you can imagine. It feels like butter. I am halfway through the Bas Relief Wrap. This is a free pattern from Pearl Soho. Now they use the same exact yarn in their pattern, but you could make a scarf or a wrap. The wrap calls for 7 skeins. The scarf, I believe, calls for 3 skeins. I liked the look of the wrap, but I only had 4 skeins. So what I did is I modified the charts, took out some of the moss stitch portions to kind of shorten it up. And I'm excited for when this will be blocked because I think it'll, you know, when you block, it's kind of magical because things kind of lay out a little bit wider and just, And this, again, I said I'm not a bobbly person, but these are baubles that I like. Oh, I love this. And again, I needed the needles, so I put my little stitch marker on there. So this is using the size 6. Oh, And I like this. This makes me feel happy. I was really hot and heavy on working on this at the beginning of the month. You know, right after I said I was gonna take a break from selfish knitting, I immediately cast that on for myself. This has now kind of nicely been sat to the side. But now that I have my white sweater done, I'm more comfortable with going back to this. I think my sweet spot for the number of projects that I'm working on is I need something like this that requires a little bit of attention and brain power, to where like I feel like I'm learning something, my skills are getting better. And then I need something like this blanket that's just garter stitch to kind of just like relax. Like I was working on that garter stitch blanket, the bias blanket, during watching what was I watching? I was watching the women's team finals for gymnastics, and I was also watching some swimming. I really enjoy watching the Olympics, but I myself am not a competitive person. But I love watching people that are truly great at what they do. So whether that's Olympic athletes or a baking show. I love the Great British Baking Show. That was a tangent. Focus. After I did up some baby hats, for whatever reason, I got a bee in my bonnet that I'm gonna do Andrea Mowry's Illuminate. I don't know why. When she originally released the pattern, I thought that's really nice, but I think I'll pass this time. But for whatever reason, all of a sudden I just thought, you know what? I'm not going to go to Rhinebeck, but I do enjoy the aspect of working on something that other people are also working on that will eventually go to Rhinebeck. I don't know. How do I describe it? It's kind of like also with the half wrap. I don't know anybody in person that has actually made it, but I know that there are tons of people who have made it. So it's kind of like a connection to others. And I kind of feel the same way with Illuminate. So what I did is I did make a swatch. This was my original plan. I was going to work this with the purple color is Holst Garn Super Soft and Sweet Pea, and then the light blushy pink is the Rowan Alpaca Classic. And on camera, the contrast shows up better than it does in person. In person, it's a little more muddy than what I'm comfortable with. I really do like things that kind of aren't a super stark contrast. I kind of like things that blend in just a little bit. Things that are subtle, you have to actually pay attention to know that they're there. But this time it just didn't quite hit the mark for me. Now I have a cute little rug. Maybe this could go in Barbie's dream house, but I'm glad I did swatch this. And I blocked it. I actually soaked it up, and the super soft, the Holst Garn does soften up and bloom. That's the first time that I have personally seen a yarn soaked and then bloom. It's really nice. What I did is I decided, well, I'm still going to make it, even though this swatch doesn't really work. I'm gonna go ahead and use my gauge for it that I got and go on to plan B. So I'm still using Sweet Pea, and I didn't realize I was so drawn to this color kind of subconsciously, because this is like the exact same color as my first Reluctant Homeschooler that I knit. Who'd have thought? And I'm using this yellow. This is Yarn Bee Color Idol, and L is for lemon, which has now been discontinued. I got this on clearance. So we're going for like a yellow and a purple sweater, which reminds me of my parents' hometown when they went to high school. The high school's colors are purple and gold, which I like that tie back to something that's familiar to me. I do feel like these colors, it's somewhat of a modern color choice. It's kind of unexpected. Okay, Terror from the future. Turns out I didn't like the yellow. Ugh, it is my favorite color, but that particular shade of yellow just doesn't really work well for my skin tone. So that whole whip got frogged. Will I end up making the Illuminate sweater? I don't know. I don't regret purchasing the pattern because Andrea Mowry, I mean, if we look at how many patterns I've purchased from her, she's like my all-time favorite knitwear designer. And I am completely okay with financially supporting her through purchasing her patterns, so it's not a loss. And I've gone and started another project, which I'll tell you about in August. So I started my yoke. Let me pull my needles down a little bit. So this is where we are. I haven't even tried the yoke on yet. Do you want me to try it on? Let's do it together. Yay for first times. Oops. I mean, look how little that hole is from the neck. But it's supposed to be a tighter neck. Zhuzh the hair up a little bit. Part of what, I don't want to say a dilemma, but part of what holds me back with color work is that color choices and combinations, from my point of view, tend to be what can date something in a certain time period. A gray hat or a white sweater, it doesn't matter if it was made in what decade, it tends to be a little bit more classic or easy to wear as the years go by. Whereas bright lemon yellow and a sweet pea purple might be harder to pull off as a forever color combo. Is it my all-time favorite color combination? No. I've done so much texture work that I needed to do some color work to kind of exercise some different muscles and different techniques that I haven't used in a while. So once I finish my Illuminate sweater, I'll go back to my bas relief wrap. I've got hair here. So that's all for my current works in progress. And something that came in July that I was super stoked about is I won a giveaway. I was watching the Grocery Girls and they talked about how they had copies of 52 Weeks of Shawls. So decided to shoot my shot, and Tracy ear burned me on Ravelry, and I was like, what is going on? And I was so excited about this. I had seen the patterns online, but I thought, do I really need the book? Am I actually going to use it in a way that I would want to use it? At the time, I only had like 2 shawls. I was working on a third. Do I really need a pattern with 52 shawl, wrap, cowl, scarf patterns in it? Probably not. And so I had just kind of decided to let it be. I had resolved I wasn't going to buy it, and it's okay. Then I watched the Grocery Girls. They talked about this giveaway, and I thought, you know what? I'll go on Ravelry. I'll put in 1 entry, and whatever will be, it's fine. And holy, I had mentioned in last month's podcast that if the knitting thing is something that I should continue to do, that there will be evidence presenting itself to me that show me, yeah, keep going. And I feel like this is one of those little nuggets that it's just like, okay, keep going. I've already like tabbed patterns that I want to do. But the first pattern that I really want to make is, I don't want to show, this is by Katya. I'm going to try my best to pronounce this. Gorbacheva? I'm so sorry. But it's wildflowers. I love this. Well, I'm either going to knit the actual wrap itself or use the chart and turn it into a sweater. I'm super excited for that. And I almost forgot, how could I forget this? Guys, you can buy Blue Christmas now on Ravelry. It's $8. I thought that was a pretty fair price. I mean, I've got 15 sizes, and the pattern covers the math for fingering weight and Aran weight versions of the sweater. And I do have videos throughout to show you kind of how I did things as I was making the sweater. And I think I do have a video that talks about how you can take whatever yarn you want to use and use that in the project. So if you're interested, like I said, it's on Ravelry, $8. Okay, I'm not a very good salesperson. Like the whole marketing and like blasting with pictures, like I kind of did that a few days leading up to the pattern release date on Instagram, but I am not a natural salesperson. I'm just not. It's more like, here's an invitation of something that's available to you if you would like to partake. That would be fantastic. And if it's not for you at this time, that's okay. You can come back anytime you would like. I would not be good at anything requiring me to work on commission. As far as any other designs, I had a shawl wrap design kind of in the works, but I frogged it and I benched that for a while. So right now I don't have any designs like in the works right now. I have some ideas in my notebook, but nothing really coming to fruition. I don't do well with just working on something to produce it, which is exactly why my pink velvet got turned into a plush, squishy, lumpy toy for the kids. I need to have something to connect with, whether that's for loved ones or some personal inspiration. I need to have a story or a person or people to be connected to in order for me to make something that like is something I can stick with. It's not that I'm not inspired. It's kind of like, I'm going to compare it to when an author is ready to work on their next book. They don't just dive into their next book. They have to do some research along the way, and then they start writing the book. So right now, I think before I come out with a next design, kind of just need to do some more research and everything. My designing, it's like tangent, going into another tangent, going into another tangent while I'm here. For me, the designing is a creative outlet, and it's a way that I can express myself apart from being mother and wife. I can just be Tara and make things that I want to make, and I can be as simple and plain as I would like, or as elaborate and crazy as I like, or somewhere in the middle. My intention with the design is not to become some famous knitwear designer. I would just like to make a little money on the side so then I can use that money to then buy more yarn. I would like my hobby to be independent from the other financial things in our household. That's kind of where I'm just coming from. I just really love to knit, and I would like my knitting to pay for itself. Also, in September, that will be my podcast anniversary. I'll have kept this up for a whole year, and I would like to do some kind of a thank you or a celebration of some kind, some sort. I can't invite you all over for a barbecue, which is kind of what we normally do. We invite friends over for good food and fellowship. And since I can't do that, I would like to think of another way that we can do it, some kind of celebration, but I'm not sure what. And I've been thinking about it and I can't really nail down anything really specific. And since you're here with me, I thought I would ask you for your input. So my question is, what kinds of things or ideas do you have if we could celebrate together? When I say, oh, podcast anniversary, let's celebrate, what pops into your head? Like, what do you envision? What do you see? And we'll go from there. I'm not going to give you any suggestions myself, and I'm not going to say which ideas I like more than others. I want to throw the invitation out there and take your input and see what we can put together. Okay. That's everything for this month. Thank you for being so patient with this episode coming out a little bit delayed because I am without a computer currently. So the good news is that by the time you see this, August will be partway through, and then my August podcast will come out soon thereafter, and we'll get to hang out again. That's everything. I hope that you have enjoyed your summer. It's back to school time. Our oldest is starting kindergarten, and I'm kind of surprised by the anxiety that I feel with that. Not about her going. She's gonna be totally fine, but like, I don't wanna let her down. I want to make sure that she knows that school is going to be fun for her. She's gonna be safe. I hope that I don't forget to pack her lunch, all the things that come with being a mom. So I will see you at the end of August. Thanks for coming to hang out, and I'll catch you next time. Best wishes and happy knitting.